Well, hello, hello, hello. This is Stacy Mallory. This is actually my first podcast that I'm putting out. It's called Chargers Talk. And I decided to do it. I've been on Twitter, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, my Twitter handle. Um, I've been on Twitter for several years now, and we go back and forth with the fans all the time. And you know, I criticize the team, the organization when it's needed, and I spit out a lot of positivity and praise when it's deserved. And y'all know since the end of last year and the first couple of games this year, it's been nothing to celebrate about and not been much positivity. But I had a lot of people that come at me a lot of times and tell me you're not a true fan and all those kind of things. And I want to get into that a little bit. But before I get started, I just want to ask everybody out there, I hope you guys enjoy this video. And if you would do me a favor, I appreciate if you would press like and give it a thumbs up. And as always, just make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos I put out in the future. And as always, I appreciate you guys for taking the time and being here. Again, my name is Stacy Mallory. I'm on Twitter as retired in 700 2017, which is the year I retired from work. And since then, I took classes and got my diploma as a journalist and my certificates as a freelance writer. So I'm looking to write for local newspapers. One of my goals, maybe it may not never happen, one of my goals is to be able to write and cover the Chargers. That would be a dream for me. But I want to introduce myself and tell you guys how I ended up becoming a Charger fan. And that was a long, long, long time ago, I think in 1982, when we had Don Coryell. For the old heads out there that remember that time, we had Don Coryell and Charlie Joyner and Wes Chandler and John Jefferson and Kellen Winslow and Chuck Muncie and James Brooks and, you know, Big Louie Kelcher, and I could just go on and on and on. Life was good, but honestly, it was almost like the same as it is now. A high-powered offense. That West Coast offense was originated by, at the time, the San Diego Chargers. And the first time I saw a game, it was the Chargers versus the Giants. And I didn't know who I wanted to root for, but I was intrigued by the lightning bolts on the side of the pants. So I just said, that's my team. And it's been a love affair ever since. And I know a lot of the guys, I've been very critical of organization, and they deserve that too. And there's a lot of the guys that are probably young and say, well, how can you say that? You're not a true fan. If you can talk like that about the organization, about the coach, leave them alone. And I just figured, you know, you guys ain't been around long enough to endure the pain that I had. And I'm sure that the old heads could speak to that as well. Just think about this. There's a lot of vitriol, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration on Twitter as a reason about maybe I would say the last 3 or 4 games that the Chargers have had. And you can even go back some years too. And the only thing that can make you angry and emotional and spit out a lot of negativity out of frustration is a person, something or a person that you care about or that you love. It's the only reason why your heart can be so full of anger and frustration. And we know, if you're a Charger fan, you know all of that a little too well. And I've been a diehard for a long time. I've almost had fights with people at work, fights with friends. You know, the Chargers used to lose. You know, the day was just ruined when I was much younger. I handle it a whole lot better now. I used to watch Charger games with my youngest son, who used to sit on my lap and watch games all the time, and he became a Charger fan. Now I watch him look like I used to, and he's very frustrated. So, I go out to California and I spend a lot of money. I buy a lot of jerseys. I hook my Charger room up. We have a lot of fun. And, right now I just think that on paper they have a Super Bowl caliber team. And they're not playing like it at all. And that starts with the top at the organization and all the way down to the players. And I envy a lot of other teams out there like Bill Belichick, Sean McVay, John Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Pete Carroll, Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid. If we had one of those coaches that I named, I believe we could have already been in the AFC title game or won a Super Bowl. Those guys are veterans. They have coached on the highest stages with the brightest lights. They don't blink, and we seem to keep messing around with the Norv Turners and the Mike McCoys, the Pat Rileys, the Anthony Lynn's, and, every team have a small window. When you put a team together and you think you're ready to challenge for a Super Bowl, there's only a small window. And we're in that window right now. But we just need a leader. We need a leader. We need somebody that can be a leader amongst men. And we need all of those personalities, all those guys with those huge contracts. We need those guys to respect who the leader is as head coach of the team. I remember the meltdown watching the Jaguars last year, and Joey Bosa, he got so frustrated whatever interaction was going on with the referee, and he slammed his helmet down he slammed the helmet down. After he did that, Staley ran and grabbed the helmet and gave it to him. He took it out of his hand, he slammed it again. To me, that's a man that don't respect you as the head coach. You don't have a pulse of the team, because I doubt very seriously you would never see that happen to Bill Belichick. You would never see that happen to John Harbaugh or Andy Reid or Mike Tomlin. You just won't see it happen. And I think that's one of the things, the piece of the puzzles that's missing. But a lot of the frustration comes back from earlier on when the Chargers always Charger. It was rough for me from 1996 to 2003. We had all losing seasons. And in 2000, we only won one game. And that's what led to the number one pick, where I believe we had the number one pick in 2001. And we traded to the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody projected we were going to get Michael Vick. And it was traded to us, who took LaDainian Tomlinson with the fourth pick in the first round. And then the second round, we took Drew Brees with our first pick in the second. So, one story I wanted to touch on, and I'm just touching on, this is my first podcast, so this is different. I got to find a comfort zone. So I might be a little bit all over the place, but I'm sure if I'm talking about the past, the old heads can relate and know exactly what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to talk to the newbies too. But there was this big misunderstanding about what happened with Marty Schottenheimer and Drew Brees. I happen to be great friends with someone who worked for the Chargers organization at that time. If you looked on my Twitter feed, you see me, I had breakfast and took pictures with all of the players from 2005. I mean, I took pictures with Sean Merriman, Marlon McCree, Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers. He was only his second year in. Drew Brees. I had conversations with these guys, and I have them all on my Twitter feed. And I had a very good friend that helped set that up. So I had some inside information on some things that was going on, and something that was never said. Now, true, one of the best decisions that Dean Spanos did was he hired John Butler, who was the general manager for the Buffalo Bills. And we seen the Buffalo Bills, unfortunately for them, went to 4 straight Super Bowls. But unfortunately, they didn't win one. And A.J. Smith, who later became our general manager because unfortunately Jonathan Butler ended up passing from cancer in 2003. So the Chargers promoted A.J. Smith, who was his assistant, to the general manager. John Butler had drafted Drew Brees, LaDainian Thompson, all those guys, and brought in Doug Flutie from Buffalo. And he had us on a good trajectory. I never could say that word. Trajectory. Had us going in the right direction. And unfortunately, when he passed away and A.J. Smith took over, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Right before he passed away, he hired Marty Schottenheimer. And then once he passed in 2003, A.J. Smith was in control. And for some reason, A.J. Smith and Marty Schottenheimer continued to knock heads. And one of the reasons why they knocked heads so much, one, Marty Schottenheimer wanted to hire his son to be the defensive coordinator. A.J. Smith was against it. So they had some issues with that. Marty Schottenheimer made it clear that he wanted to be in the draft room and have some input in draft picks and getting the team that he wanted to put together. A.J. Smith denied him, and it got to the point they weren't even speaking anymore. There was the last season that Drew Brees played as a Charger. That was 2005. And the Chargers were out of the playoff picture. And you had Phillip Rivers, who was drafted by A.J. Smith in 2004. Jonathan Butler drafted Drew Brees, so you know how that goes. That wasn't his guy. Marty loved Drew Brees and wanted to hold on to Drew Brees. That was Drew Brees' last year on his contract. And A.J. Smith, this is the part of the story that was never told. A.J. Smith went to Marty Schottenheimer and told him, gave him an order as the general manager, do not play Drew Brees. Play Phillip Rivers. I want to see what Phillip Rivers can do in a game where he start and finish the game. Let me see what we have before we decide financially if we're going to invest in Drew Brees again. Of course, Marty and him knocking heads. Marty went to Drew Brees and asked Drew Brees, do you want to play or not? And with Drew Brees being the competitor he is, he said, of course. So he said, all right, you're starting. And that pissed A.J. Smith off. And unfortunately, the worst thing that can happen happened. Let's take a look and see. This was the thing. This was the deal breaker. And one of the biggest reasons why Marty ended up, even though we had a 14-2 record in 2006, this is what cost him his job. Let's go look at this. And as you can see, Drew Brees playing that last game, and he's dropping back to pass, and we were like on the 5-yard line. John Lynch come flying in from behind. He strips Drew Brees. The ball falls out, I believe, on the 2-yard line. Everybody's scrambling to get the ball. As you can see here, Drew Brees dives. And unfortunately, the offensive lineman, he got sandwiched between him and Gates. And, oh, what a gruesome injury that was. As you see him here now, diving for that ball, his arm got caught. And when the lineman jumped on top of him, he tore his shoulder and rotator cuff in 2 places. Look at that. Look how the arm twisted to the side. It was broken that way. He tore his arm in 2 places and tore his labrum. And that infuriated A.J. Smith because he specifically told Marty not to play him. But Marty played him anyway because Marty just didn't like the man at all and just wasn't going to. He played Drew Brees instead of playing Phillip Rivers. And at that point, most doctors that checked Drew Brees out said that that was like a Tommy John surgery, and it was a 2% chance that he would even come back from that surgery. So at that point, it was a no-brainer. Luckily for us, we didn't take too much grief from that because Phillip Rivers went on to be, although we fell short of the Super Bowl, and the closest we got was in 2007 when he played in that extraordinary game against the New England Patriots that we should have won. But he played had a torn ACL and a torn MCL in his right leg and a torn MCL in his left leg, and he played and almost pulled it out. You know, that was one of my favorite guys, Phillip Rivers. I love that dude. But that's what happened with Marty, and it's unfortunate because we were 14-2 and had a first-round bye, and we lost to them in the second round of the playoffs to the Patriots. And by the way, that was one of the things that infuriated me so much because as great as Phillip Rivers was, throughout his 17 years that he was a Charger, we never beat the New England Patriots. We never beat, well, let me rephrase that. We never beat Tom Brady in his tenure with the Chargers. We only beat the Patriots once in the Phillip Rivers era, and that was the year that Tom Brady went down for the season with an injury that tore his knee out. I believe it was Rodney Harrison who hit him in a preseason game, and it tore his knee up, and he was done for the year. Matt Castle took over. They went 11-5, but unfortunately, that was the only year that we beat the Patriots. But I would have liked for Tom Brady to be behind the line so that we can finally say we beat Tom Brady. And then the closest, the one other time that I thought we had it, everybody knows, the old heads know, maybe the young ones don't, but the old heads do know, Marlon McCree. I still have that game on a DVR, and I still haven't watched it. I watched the first half where LaDainian had about 14, 15 carries, 125 yards in the first half and only touched the ball 4 times after halftime. And even so, we could have pulled it out. And this is another one of those things where you say the Chargers Charger. And let's take a look at that. If for the young ones that don't remember, here's what happened.
Intercepted for the third time, and the ball comes out.
Let's look at that.
Brown reached in there and knocked the ball loose. Can you believe it? New England recovers. McCree had the interception,
We had the game put away, and instead of him kneeling, taking a knee so that our offense can get the ball back and we could try to run the clock out, he tried to return it. Troy Brown, who he jumped in front of the route and picked it off. Troy Brown ran behind him and punched it out from behind. New England got the ball, and, the rest is history. They went down and they scored, So those are one of the things that frustrate me so much about the Chargers. Listen, nobody loved the Chargers as hard as I do. I spend money. I live in New Jersey. It's very expensive to fly out to California, but I fly out all the time, me and my son. We spend a couple $1,000 when we go out. I buy crazy jerseys. I spend a lot of money here in my little man cave where it's Charger City here. And so when they come up short, especially now, let me just say this. When we say the Chargers Charger all the time, did you know in 2010, the Chargers had the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense in the entire National Football League. But we had the worst special teams, and we didn't make the playoffs. We historically, as an organization, we always in the record books for some crazy shit that happens all the time, like if there was maybe 500 different ways you could lose a game and you seen all 500 different ways, the Chargers will find out another way other than those 500 to lose a game. And this is something that hurts. It hurts. And we let out our frustrations online. And Brandon Staley, I'm very disappointed in Brandon Staley. I mean, I know he was with the Denver Broncos under Vic Fangio, and he was with Matt Nagy as a coordinator with Matt Nagy, and then he got his first defensive coordinator's job with the Rams, and they finished in first place. So he came over as this guru, and I have to admit, when he first came, I liked it. It brought some energy to an organization that was kind of like dead. He brought an energy. He wanted to go for it on fourth downs all the time. And, and he would sit back at these press conferences and say, I'm going to go for it all the time. I got a gangster as a quarterback. And I mean, I loved it. But then after a while, it started not working. We not converting fourth downs. I mean, we would be on the other team's 18-yard line on a 4th and 5, and he'll go for it. And they get the ball back. They're already in field goal range. And, I mean, we know how it goes. But I'm going to say this, though, about the state that's going on now. And this is how I feel. And I'm sure a lot of Charger fans, before I wrap this up, I'm going to say a lot of Charger fans feel the same way. Let me just say this, too, before I go any further. I've been looking for people. I've been looking for a co-host. I want to make this big. I want to make this fun. We be frustrated all the time. People are, like, going at each other's throats, this and that. Look, I'm not on Twitter to disrespect people. I'm not on Twitter to insult people and make threats to people, and I don't want that done to me. But everybody, Twitter gives you a platform, or X, whatever you want to call it, gives you a platform to be able to speak how you feel as long as you're not being disrespectful or threatening anyone. So I want you guys to chill out a little bit. Stop getting so mad and want to fight, over an opinion. Somebody can have an opinion, and if they say something, give some constructive criticism. Stop saying you're not a real fan. You're not a true fan. Stop it. You're taking this shit way too personal. It's not. They deserve to be criticized. They deserve to be criticized. Listen, I love this team. It's the only football team I ever loved. It's cold in the wintertime here in Jersey. But the only thing, the best time of that time of the year when it's cold is football. And I can't stand the cold. I love the summertime. I love the beautiful weather. But, man, I don't mind it when it gets cold because I know it's football season. But let me tell you, I'm going to give you some real talk before I close this out. On the defensive line, you have Joey Bosa coming off the edge and Khalil Mack. Joey Bosa, one of the best edge rushers in all of football. Khalil Mack, although he's not in his prime anymore, Khalil Mack is still better than average. I mean, Joey just got 2 sacks last week, and Khalil don't have any yet. You got Sebastian Joseph Day that was supposed to man the middle. I haven't seen Sebastian Joseph Day make a play in the backfield yet. I haven't seen him push the pile back yet. He's just been totally, I don't care what nobody says. Listen, somebody got to tell the truth, and that's the truth. He has not lived up to that contract. You have Kenneth Murray. I was crazy. I loved watching him in Oklahoma Sooners, and I loved it when we got him. We actually came out of the second round, gave up a couple of draft picks, and jumped back into the first round to get him on the back end before round 1 ended. I love the move. But he's been very disappointing. All that wreaking havoc and blowing up people in the backfield, I never seen it. But I'm going to say this, though. One thing I'm going to give him credit for. I said I'm not going to call him K9 because he didn't earn it in the NFL. I'm going to call him Kenneth Murray. But last week, Kenneth Murray showed up. I'll even go as far as say K9 appeared last week. He was all over the place. He was disruptive. He was getting sacks. He was a tackling machine. If we can get that from him from the rest of the year, because you're going to need it. Then you have Eric Hendricks that came over from Minnesota. You got Derwin James, in my opinion, arguably the best safety in all the National Football League. You got J.C. Jackson, who was Mr. Interception. Led the league in interceptions the last 4 years, and then all of a sudden come to the Chargers and he's forgot how to play football, forgot how to cover, even though a lot of that I blame on Staley for putting him in bad positions on the field and too high safeties. And the schemes have not been good and not been taking advantage of the strengths of the players. But at the end of the day, when you have Asante Samuel, who I love, and you have J.C. Jackson, and you have Derwin James, and you have Eric Hendricks, and you have Kenneth Murray, and you have Joey Bosa, and you have Khalil Mack on the same defense, how the freak are we 31 or 32? That's on you, Brandon Staley. That's on you. And people need to hear that. You Charger fans, you need to hear that. Stop falling in love with these guys and all that. Listen, at the end of the day, they are not producing. We spend $500 million on that defense. We can't stop a cold right now. If we gonna win tomorrow against the Minnesota Vikings, damn it, Derwin, we need you to be Derwin James. Khalil, we need a little something. Joey, we need a little bit of what we saw last week. K9, we need to see that consistently, what we saw last week. Asante Samuel, don't get burnt no more. J.C. Jackson, listen, we got the names. You have to get it done, because if you don't get it done, this team is going to get blown up because you can't afford to keep paying everybody. And on the offensive side, you got my boy who's a stud, who I think they're screwing around with his mechanics right now. I don't like what I've been seeing this year yet, although the numbers are there production-wise. I see you throwing in the double coverage a lot because you're calling your own plays. I don't know what's going on, but Justin Herbert, I love you. I think you have a chance to be just as good as Phillip Rivers ever was. But now is the time, man. Now, because listen, after this year, you can't afford to play Khalil. You might not be able to afford Joey because these guys' contracts are getting bigger and bigger, and our window is starting to close. You got Mike Williams getting $20 million a year. You got Keenan getting $20 million a year. And Mike, you show up one game and disappear the next 3. That's got to stop. You guys are getting paid good money. Let me see consistency. Let me see consistency. And for the love of God, you drafted Quentin. My goodness, this dude that you drafted from TCU, 6'2", 218, ran a 4.3. And all we saw from the highlights is him running slants, catching the ball, breaking away from defenders, and taking it to the house. And we're not even using him. Darius Davis spoiled us in the preseason and showed us what he could do with his speed. We're not even using him. Why, Brandon Staley? Why Kellen Moore? Last week it was just the Keenan Allen show. You mean Mike wasn't open? Joshua Palmer wasn't open? Come on. Come on. See, that's where the frustration starts coming from. We have every tool you need to get the job done. And we struggle and struggle and struggle and find ways to lose the game. So I'm calling on all of you Chargers players to step up. I don't want to see no more stuff on Twitter saying you either with us or you're against us. Fuck that. We spend too much money. We spend way too much money. Don't say that. We have a right. We cheer. We there for you. We spend money. We travel. We do all these things for you, and everybody love it. But when you don't produce, especially when you got the marquee names you do on both sides, we have a right to voice our opinion. No, I'm not going to abandon ship. I would never abandon ship. But I'm going to voice my displeasure when you go out and you have these kind of names, the talent that we have, and you put that on a football field, and then we watch you come out, Brandon Staley, and have a first half that we love, and then all of a sudden the coach make their adjustments, and then you don't make no adjustments. And then all of a sudden, here we come. Here come the Chargers are charging. I look at my son. Are the Chargers charging? Yeah, the Chargers are charging. Yeah, the Chargers are charging. I mean, we have a lead, and then third quarter, it start getting tight. As soon as it start getting tight, players start jumping off sides. Bosa start jumping off sides. It just drives me absolutely crazy, and I'm just asking tomorrow, can we please put together 4 quarters of football? I don't want to hear anything more about from Brandon Staley. I don't know what happened. We got to go look at the tape. We'll figure out what it is. We'll fix it, and we'll be ready for the team. We'll be ready for the opponent next week. I am tired. You know why? I want to win a Super Bowl. You know the last time the Chargers organization won anything? It was here. 1963, when it was the AFL, the American Football League, and we beat the Boston Patriots. I believe the score was 51-10 or something like that. I want a Super Bowl. And we have a Super Bowl caliber team. We just don't play like it. So I'm saying, please, my goodness. And if you guys with me, like, come on. Don't get frustrated with me. I'm with you. I've been riding for the Chargers longer than you guys have been born, some of you. So only thing that I'm saying is, man, listen, we're going to cry together. We're going to argue together, but we're not going to insult each other. We're not going to call names. We're not going to insult each other. We're not going to make threats to each other and all that stuff. We're not going to act like keyboard gangsters that we all tough and we can kill somebody hiding behind a keyboard. You can't reach out and grab nobody. So ain't no need to carrying on and get yourself all stressed out. But, you know, I'm going to say again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you do, I would appreciate if you would press like and give it a thumbs up if you can. And as always, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos I put out in the future. As always, I appreciate you guys. Take the time. I appreciate you guys for taking the time, to view this content, whether you're a Charger fan or not. I promise I'm going to get better. This was my first one. I hope I did good. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And everyone is welcome, whether you're a Charger fan or not. And as always, see you soon. And bolt up. Let's go, Bolts. Let's go handle Minnesota tomorrow. Because if not, we're going to be sick. And somebody going to get fired. I'll see y'all next week, or not even next week. I'm going to jump back on Monday, and we're going to talk about either we're going to be happy together or we're going to be sad together. Thanks, and y'all have a good weekend. Enjoy the games.